Are you scrolling through endless feeds, feeling more connected than ever, but somehow more alone? Do you feel like the noise of the modern world is drowning out that quiet inner voice of faith? If you've ever felt your spiritual foundation start to crack under the pressure of today's culture, this message is for you. Welcome to the Heart of Catholicism YouTube channel, the Catholic path to peace where God's faith changes our lives. Today, we are exploring one of the most urgent questions for believers. How do we keep our faith strong in a world that seems determined to weaken it? Modern life is a paradox. It offers us an endless stream of information, but so little genuine meaning. We live in an age of unprecedented materialism, where society teaches us to chase possessions, status, and fleeting pleasures rather than a deeper, more enduring purpose. This relentless pursuit leaves many feeling empty, as if they are running on a treadmill that leads nowhere. At the same time, a culture of radical individualism tells us to rely only on ourselves, but this self-reliance often isolates us, cutting us off from the strength of community and the wisdom of shared belief. We find ourselves adrift without an anchor. And then there is the constant, overwhelming flood of digital distraction. Our attention is a precious resource, yet we allow it to be flooded with entertainment, viral trends, and trivial updates, leaving precious little space for quiet reflection, contemplation, or prayer. Social media, in particular, has reshaped our values in subtle but profound ways. Its algorithms are not designed to nurture virtue. They are designed to maximize engagement, often by rewarding anger, envy, and vanity rather than humility, compassion, or empathy. This digital landscape is compounded by a pervasive sense of cultural relativism, the idea that truth is whatever you believe. This notion chips away at the very foundation of moral absolutes, leaving a generation that is technically more connected than any in history, but spiritually adrift, anxious, and profoundly unsure of what to believe in. In this chaotic context, choosing faith becomes a truly countercultural act. It is a quiet, deliberate act of resistance against the overwhelming noise and confusion of modern life. In a world saturated with information, it's crucial to understand what faith really means today. It is far more than blind obedience or outdated superstition. At its core, faith is a profound and active trust in something larger and more enduring than oneself. It is a conscious commitment to a set of values, love, truth, mercy, and justice that persists long after cultural trends have faded and personal feelings have shifted. True, living faith is not an enemy of reason. It is a beautiful synthesis of the heart and the mind. It encourages us to ask difficult questions, to seek understanding, and to wrestle with doubt, all while holding fast to the belief in a benevolent God and a meaningful purpose for our lives. Unfortunately, many people confuse the external routines of religion with the internal reality of genuine faith. Rituals, traditions, and prayers are immensely valuable, but they hold their true power only when they serve as signposts pointing toward an inner transformation. They are the means, not the end. For the modern believer, the challenge is to rediscover faith not as a static checklist of obligations, but as a dynamic, living dialogue between our doubts and our convictions, our struggles and our hopes. A conscious faith one that is carefully built on reflection, sincere study, and lived experience is infinitely stronger and more resilient than an unexamined, inherited belief. It is this conscious faith that equips us to face the inevitable uncertainties and hardships of life not with fear and anxiety, but with a deep and abiding peace. As we strive to nurture this faith, we must be aware of the forces that actively draw us away from it. Modern society constantly presents powerful pull factors, distractions that lure our attention away from the spiritual. One of the most seductive of these is the illusion of absolute control. Technology, ambition, and a culture of self-optimization convince us that we can and should master every outcome in our lives through sheer effort and planning. But life, in its beautiful and tragic unpredictability, inevitably proves this illusion false. When things don't go according to our plan, when we face illness, loss, or failure, this fragile sense of control shatters, leaving a void of emptiness and disillusionment right where faith once stood. Another powerful pull is the modern worship of success. Social media platforms and popular culture create a highlight reel that glorifies status, physical beauty, wealth, and worldly achievement. This relentless messaging creates a value system that is in direct opposition to the teachings of our faith, which champion humility, patience, service, and gratitude. These two mindsets clash within us daily, creating a constant tension between the world's definition of worth and God's. Adding to this is the subtle but pervasive influence of peer pressure. Many believers harbor a quiet fear of being seen as too religious, old-fashioned, or judgmental. To avoid potential mockery or social exclusion, they begin to hide their beliefs, privatizing their faith until it has little impact on their public lives. This retreat is often reinforced by academic and media narratives that frequently and unfairly equate faith with ignorance or irrationality, deepening the seeds of skepticism and cynicism. These forces rarely destroy faith in a single dramatic moment. Instead, they erode it slowly and silently, like the relentless action of waves against a rock, gradually wearing it down until it crumbles. But our faith is not just pulled away. It is also actively pushed against. Beyond the subtle lures, there are direct push factors, cultural forces that challenge and confront believers. Modern culture often portrays religion, particularly Catholicism, as restrictive, intolerant, and fundamentally irrational. It is painted as a collection of arbitrary rules designed to limit freedom and happiness. At the same time, the engine of consumerism relentlessly pushes us to define our self-worth by what we own and consume, rather than by who we are as children of God. This creates a profound moral confusion, blurring the lines between right and wrong, and replacing timeless virtues with transient desires. In response to these pressures, many people adopt a strategy of compartmentalization. Their spirituality becomes a small, walled-off part of their existence, reserved for Sunday mornings or private moments, but disconnected from their work, their relationships, and their daily decisions. But faith loses its transformative power when it is separated from the fabric of everyday life. The greatest challenge for many believers today is not external persecution, but this internal fragmentation, the struggle of living two separate lives, one spiritual and one secular. And so, out of a fear of judgment, exclusion, or simple misunderstanding, people continue to hide their beliefs. But we must remember that when faith retreats from public life, when its light is hidden under a bushel, society as a whole loses its moral compass and its source of transcendent hope. So, how do we stand firm? The secret to staying spiritually grounded in this turbulent world is found in one word: discipline. It is about discipline over inspiration. You don't stay faithful because you always feel a surge of spiritual emotion. You stay faithful because you consistently practice the habits of faith, especially on the days you feel nothing at all. This practice begins with recentering the soul each day through simple, intentional acts. Consistent prayer, even when it feels dry, keeps the line of communication with God open. Moments of quiet meditation or reading scripture silence the world's noise and amplify His voice. Cultivating an attitude of gratitude shifts our focus from what we lack to the abundant blessings we have. Furthermore, we are not meant to walk this path alone. Finding and investing in a strong faith community, a parish, a prayer group, a circle of trusted friends provides indispensable strength, encouragement, and accountability. This is your spiritual family who will lift you up when you are weak and rejoice with you when you are strong. We must also be mindful of what we consume. The content we watch, the music we listen to, and the books we read shape our spirit just as much as food shapes our body. Making a conscious choice to engage with uplifting, edifying, and truth-filled content can fortify our spiritual defenses. Finally, it's about maintaining a proper perspective. We must learn to distinguish what is eternal love, compassion, truth, and our relationship with God from what is temporary and fleeting, like money, fame, and worldly success. Together, these habits form a kind of spiritual immune system, protecting our souls from the infections of cynicism, despair, and distraction that are so prevalent in the modern world. A common misconception that pushes people away is the false dichotomy between faith and science, but these two are not enemies. They are partners in the quest for understanding. They simply answer different, complementary questions. Science explains the how, the physical mechanisms and observable laws of the universe. Faith, on the other hand, explores the why, the ultimate meaning, purpose, and value of it all. Many of the greatest scientists in history, from Newton and Faraday to modern-day believers like Francis Collins, saw their scientific discoveries not as a refutation of God, but as a glimpse into the profound elegance, order, and majesty of His creation. Both science and faith, when practiced correctly, require a profound sense of humility, a candid admission of how much we still don't know. Both are fueled by a sense of wonder that deep, driving awe that compels us to explore, to question, and to understand our place in the cosmos. The true conflict is not between science and faith. It is and always has been between arrogance and humility. Arrogance insists it has all the answers, while humility remains open to mystery and truth from every source. When we allow faith and reason to work together, they provide a much fuller, more complete picture of reality, one that combines empirical truth with transcendent purpose. Ultimately, all this theory must translate into practice. Faith is not a static object we possess. It is a verb, something we do. To strengthen your faith, start with small, concrete steps. Create a personal spiritual routine, even if it's just 5 minutes each day, dedicated to silence, a simple prayer like the rosary, or reflective reading. This consistency is more important than the duration. Practice forgiveness, both for others and for yourself. Resentment is a poison that corrodes the soul far more quickly than doubt ever could. Holding on to grudges closes our hearts to God's grace. Engage with sacred and philosophical texts deeply. Don't just passively read the words. Meditate on them, wrestle with them, and actively seek to apply their timeless lessons to your modern life. And finally, put your faith into action through service. Every small act of kindness, every moment of selfless help offered to another person, reinforces the core belief that goodness, compassion, and love still matter in this world. It is a powerful antidote to cynicism. Remember, faith is not maintained by fleeting emotions, but by consistent, intentional actions. It grows slowly and steadily, like a mighty tree, watered daily by these small, deliberate deeds of love and devotion. In our final reflection, we must acknowledge that modernity has changed almost everything about how we live, except the fundamental needs of the human heart. The deep, innate longing for truth, connection, compassion, and hope remains timeless. Living a life of faith today does not mean we must retreat from the world, abandoning technology or progress. Instead, it calls for integration. It calls us to be a leaven in society, bringing light, purpose, and the love of Christ into the very heart of the modern world, not hiding from it in fear. Faith is not about achieving a state of perfection. It is about maintaining a direction. It's about continually orienting your heart toward God, even when you stumble. Every small act of belief, choosing kindness when you could choose anger, speaking truth when a lie would be easier, offering forgiveness when you feel justified in your resentment, is a powerful way of keeping your faith alive and vibrant. And so the final message today is one of profound hope. It is not only possible, but essential to live a life of deep conviction, peace and purpose no matter how fast or how chaotically the world around you spins. Your faith is the anchor that can hold you steady.